In the annals of Kings Island history, there was an attraction that was quite different from what you're used to today. You may have seen photos of it. You may even remember it from the episode of the Brady Bunch, the Cincinnati Kids. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast for Kings Island fans by Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Yeah, so Don, you were alive when Kings Island opened its gates. Let's talk about an original attraction, Kenton's Cove Shawnee Landing.
Well, Ryan, Shawnee Landing, it holds a special place in Kings Island's history. It opened its waters in 1972 when the park opened. It was nestled in Rivertown, which is now the location of the Beast entrance and the station. It was a fun little attraction. I remember doing it with my family and cousins, and there was a little bit of an extension from a ride they had like that at Cincinnati's Coney Island. So it was kind of a cool little thing.
Absolutely, Don. Now, did you know that it actually had another name? Some people may remember this attraction as the War Canoes.
I do remember it being called that, and those war canoes were white something there, Ryan. They were manufactured by Old Town Canoe Company. They were each a whopping 33 feet uh, and 10 inches long, and they could carry up to 20 passengers. So it had pretty decent capacity.
Yeah, so the attraction was more of a team effort with passengers paddling together under the guidance of Indian guides positioned at the front and back of each canoe. They shared the history of early Ohio and its Native American inhabitants as riders navigated around a large pond with a central island.
I do remember the Indian guides when I did this experience. I also remember it being like you used the word team effort. If some were not pulling their weight and moving in the right direction with the canoes in it, I being one of them that struggled with that. Um, yeah, it could be an adventure out there, but the theming of this, was really captivating. They had the teepees, the Native American figurines were adorned along a small island at the center of the pond. There was that connection with Cincinnati's Coney Island where a similar canoe attraction existed. So, it was really a cool experience, something that you wanted to do when you went to Kings Island between 1972 and 76.
Yeah, absolutely, Don. Yeah, the history is very fascinating. Some say the canoes might have been relocated from Coney Island, but the details are kind of uncertain about that. We're not able to get hard data on that. And guess what? Shawnee Landing had a Hollywood moment in 1973, as I mentioned in the top of the episode, when it appeared on the episode of the Brady Bunch filmed at Kings Island.
Yeah, that was one of the iconic scenes about it. You still have people today. They see the Brady Bunch, they come to the park, and they're looking for that attraction. Obviously it's not there, but it's still one of those things that, it's memorable for a number of reasons. It was, the footage of that was really cool when they were experiencing, but also that's where the plans were lost. So, it certainly has its place in Kings Island's history. Unfortunately, as much as I and others may have loved Shawnee Landing, it had its challenges. There was high upkeep, costs due to staffing, and you know, I mentioned the capacity seemed to be pretty good with 20. But if you have a lot of guests that want to do it, I guess on some busy days, the capacity could be considered low. But it led to its closure after the 1976 season.
Yeah, and then the figures found a new home in the Kings Island and Miami Valley Railroad. But the attraction's legacy lives on. Um, In 1979, the Shawnee Landing made way for the Beast, which retained much of the old lake under its station in Lift Hill until it didn't in 1987.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was notable when the Beast first opened. There was still that remembrance of the canoe attraction. Around the ride when you came out of the station, you turned the corner and there was the lake in that there, the pond, whatever word you want to use there, and it was really really helped the theming of the Beast when it first opened up. But yeah, I mean, it was just something that was fun. It was memorable. I'm glad I got to experience it. Uh, the popularity of it, we're talking 72, 73, 74, 5 seasons, 1.5 million, guests experienced it. So, it was something I guess certainly did. But I've enjoyed talking about this. I always like talking about the things that aren't there anymore. Don't you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a different experience for us because I knew about this from photos and video, but I never got to experience it. But for you, it's a walk down memory lane.
It is. I mean, I can still picture it, going into Rivertown and, where you would go to get on the canoe and then, paddling around and, the little island in the middle out there. The Indian tour guides. I don't remember, the word for word what the story that they were telling was. I remember them talking it, but I don't remember that. Like I do the Kings Island Miami Valley Railroad, where I could recite that, word for word, what was said from 1972 through 1988 before Waterworks opened, and they kind of changed the experience there with that. But that was one of those things that I don't remember the exact detail what the script and things were, but I still remember it.
So, tell me more about the ride experience. I understand the concept. Like, I knew that there was a person playing a Native American on the front and back of the boat. Everybody paddled. There was an island in the middle. All that stuff I knew. Would you just go around the island and come back? Do you stop at the island?
You just went around. I mean, there might have been a time where you did stop and get out or something. I don't know, but I just know you just went. My experience with it was, and we would do it. We would go once a year. We would experience it once each visit. Was you went out and then you just paddled around the island and then you came back in and it was maybe 10-15 minutes of time that you were in the canoe.
If you're not conditioned for canoeing, and especially on a lake, 10, 15 minutes, like you'd be sore
It's a long
after that.
time. It's a long time. I mean, I'm 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and I'm trying to like, with the oars and stuff, and they're telling, kind of like pointing at me, no, go this direction, go this direction. And my sister and my brother, they're yelling at me because they're all going. I mean, it is, I don't know. It was chaos. I didn't like that part of it. I would have liked to just sit back and relax and enjoyed the little cruise around there, but it was fun. And, in my mind, I can still picture, it was beautiful, that they, with, there's a couple pictures that you'll have if you're watching the video version of this. And, it was beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely seems cool. So to be clear, though, these were real canoes. You weren't pushing it along a
Oh yeah, they were
track
real
or anything
canoes.
like that.
No, 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 no. You actually was manually done by everybody that was in the canoe. So if it was full capacity, all 20 of you, need to get your oars all going in the same direction, or it was going to be a little more of an adventure out there.
Did the canoes ever go off track, or like was it? I mean, I know that that's what the attendants on the the front and back of the canoe were for. Sorry, I'm tripping over my
Yeah,
words again.
yeah. I did never witnessed it myself, but I, was told that there were times that it did tip over when guests would intentionally try to do that.
Mm.
That was probably one of the reasons too that they had to look into removing it. Was just sometimes you couldn't count on what the guests might do.
Did you wear a life vest?
No, you just got in the boat and went. It wasn't that deep of water to begin with.
I bet in today's world you'd have a life vest.
Depending on, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, the water wasn't that deep. I mean, you're
It
talking
was probably 2.5 feet, like every other.
2 feet, 3 feet, maybe.
Yeah,
It wasn't that.
yeah, but
But yeah, you're right. You probably would though. I
oh,
mean,
I
now
would
you
say
would.
without a doubt, it'd be if it opened in 2024 next year without life vests by 2025, it would have them. Because all it takes is one person to say like, "Well, what if somebody falls out and gets trapped under the boat or something?" And I don't know.
Yeah, I would think though. That was just, like I said. That's just legend. I heard that people, turned it over and that. I never got any confirmation about that, but you can see where it could
Oh
happen.
yeah, and it wouldn't take a lot. If there were 20 people on a boat, and especially somebody like me that weighs over 200 pounds, if I leaned to a side, I would greatly influence um the yaw, I think is the direction we're talking about, of the boat. So if you and I together did, if we were in a boat with a bunch of people that were 150 pounds or so, you and I would flip that boat over.
Yeah. It's interesting now when people ride the beast that remember riding it from the beginning. You always hear them saying, "Oh, there used to be, water out here, going around the turn and stuff." When I first started in the beast, I remember the canoes being right there and where you would, enter and get on the canoes and you go up the lift hill and you kind of look down and stuff and see, part of that attraction. So, um, yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of those things that now, unless you were there from 72 to 76 at the park, you'd have no, idea that that was even there.
So the confirm or deny this. I'm pretty sure that the official statement on why they got rid of the pond in what was it 87? Yeah. They got rid of
Going into 87,
okay.
yeah. So after the 86 season, that was the last year for the
Okay.
water.
And they got rid of it because mainly mosquitoes, right?
It's a combination of things. They were building Vortex. so it had to come out anyway, just for that part of it. Vortex came a little closer to the beast than the bat did. Getting the cranes and things in there to build Vortex. So that was one of the reasons. Upkeep, guests would throw their trash and things in there. So if you're going through the beast line, you have a soft drink, you're done. Instead of throwing it in the trash can, you just flip it into the water. You'd have hot dog wrappers in there, and then you did have, yeah, it was, especially when you got into July and August, um, it was a haven for the mosquitoes.
Were there any problems like that when this ride was there? Like, or do you think there was just too many people on the water for mosquitoes to be a problem?
I think there was more people in the water. It wasn't, just sitting there. There was, movement, people moving around and that kind of thing. So I think that might have been a reason why you didn't have as much. I mean, sure, they were there. It's just not something, when you were my age, you're not going to remember mosquitoes. I don't remember mosquitoes too much with the beast um, in the early years, but yeah, those are the kind of, combination of things. You're building the vortex. You need that, to flatten that out a little bit. You need to be able to get maintenance vehicles. That changed too, where maintenance vehicles, when you had the access road. So if you ride the beast now and you see where um, the storage area is for the trains as you're leaving the station before you go up the lift hill, the maintenance guys had to walk along the track to get out to that because there was water. It was surrounded by water.
Mhm.
So you needed to have better access behind the scenes because in the early years, the maintenance would just drive, in the park with their truck and just pull up in front of a ride, and just walk up the entrance or the exit. And that all just started to change. So you were having more behind the scenes access that was needed. And that played a role in it as well too. And with the vortex, they were going to need that behind the scenes access there to get to the lift hill if something happened to that. So all those things played a role in it.
So do you think now that you've said this to me, it's kind of like I feel like I'm kind of having a revelation because I was always mainly under the understanding that it was mosquitoes. What you're saying makes total sense. Do you think that mosquitoes was the easier answer and that was the public answer for that reason?
Sounds easier than, oh, there's too many
I
mosquitoes. We had
mean,
to get rid of
if
it.
you
Yeah.
were the PR person at the time, was that the direction you would go? Like, hey, we're removing this mosquitoes. All right, go away.
That was, I do remember them saying though that there, it was hard with the upkeep and the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
It wasn't mentioned about the access roads that were needed to get around, both to the beast, to the vortex, and some other things like that, which contributed to it. So that's why that was out there. But I'm sure, I mean, it was part of it. Wasn't the reason, but it was part of it with the mosquitoes.
Yeah, and I have no doubt, but I've got to based on what you're telling me, I feel like mosquitoes were like 5% of the reason. It was just the one that people would be able to digest. Because what would you rather do? Would you if a guest says, "Hey, why'd they get rid of the pond under the beast?" You say, "Ah, mosquitoes, man. They're malaria's out there and stuff." Or say, the bat was coming a little closer than the vortex, and then yeah, no, just mosquitoes, go away. That's
You don't like maintenance roads yet? Then you can look right now. You can see where the roads are for the maintenance trucks and stuff to get back there.
Oh yeah, no, you can see them,
Yeah.
but I'm not saying I dislike him or anything. I'm just saying that mosquitoes is a way easier answer for
Yeah.
the guest to understand than like the maintenance people have to walk the track and then we're building the vortex and I don't know. We're getting
I'll
up.
tell you what though. Had that water not been drained, a lot of guests, a lot of coaster enthusiasts, they've enjoyed those behind the scene tours of the beast. You never would have been able to do that with the water there.
Uh-huh, they would have kept a couple canoes, then you just canoe back to the back of the beast.
Well, that would have added to the experience, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's true. So I was told in the past, I don't know if you can confirm or deny this, but the mine shaft little thing with next to like the beast's turnaround at the very beginning of
Hmm.
the ride, that was
Hmm.
the inlet where the water came in. Is that correct?
There was water that, yeah, water ran down that.
Yeah. So I always
It
wondered
was
what.
it came from like the top of the station.
Mm,
There was like water like kind of came down and like hit different things and kind of rolled down, and then it came out of the little mine shaft into the pond.
that's pretty cool. So, back to the matter at hand, the Shawnee landing. You mentioned that there's some elements like TPs and stuff like that. Can you kind of like tell me a little bit more about that in terms of like were they on the island? Were they on the perimeter of the
They're
pond?
they're around the island. They're around the island. So like when you went around, you kind of saw part of the storytelling, with the TPs and the other things that went around it. So it was on that. Kind of similar if you rode the train at Cincinnati's Coney Island. They had a section that had the TPs set up there. So it was kind of that same type of thing, but it was on the island where you would see that.
I always feel like in the '70s, the cool thing to say is like, "This is a real Indian teepee." Did they ever try to pull that this is real stuff at all, or were they like, "Yeah, this is a set"?
It was just part of a story, of what it would have been, life would have been like, back in that era.
Was it did it was it historically accurate to, like, the Shawnee Indians, or was that just a name?
No, it was accurate to it. It was like the same thing with the train, where it was accurate to that period of time and that location that they were talking about at the time.
Yeah, cool. Alright, well, Don, do you have any final thoughts about Shawnee Landing?
Now that we've talked about it, I kind of wish it was still there. I mean, love the beast and everything like that. You want to have the beast, but I wish there was a way to have been able to keep that because it was unique, something different than just your typical rides.
Yeah, I completely agree. Cool. Well, very educational episode, Don. Hey, alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.